This is Texans TV.
OTAs are over, so what did we learn? Plus, we're going back in time to a memorable pick six.
Picked off by Johnathan Joseph, rock and roll, pick six.
Texans 360 is now.
We are ready to rock in Houston. Rock and roll. Oh, let's go!
Guess when you think you've seen it all, there's always something else.
Hey, it's so great to see you. I've missed you so much. So has John Harris. This is Texans 360. I'm your host, Drew Dougherty, and we're so happy that you're with us, like I mentioned at the top of the show. John, you and I have so much to discuss because we've got a coaching clinic. We've got to go back to a very fun time in Texans history, and we've got to cover some of the news of the week, including the cut of Duke Ejiofor. The defensive end is no longer with the team, but really the big news of the week, OTAs are kaput. They are finished. Texans got a lot of work done, and really we saw some stuff that was pretty interesting when we were out at practice when we got to watch. What did you see? What's the main thing that stood out to you?
First and foremost, let me just take a big sigh of relief that there was no major injury that took place. We saw that out in San Francisco where there were 2 season-ending injuries that happened right at the end of OTAs. And that's the one thing you want to make sure you walk out of it. Yes, you get some work done, but everybody stays healthy so you can go into training camp. Look, you've got the rest of the summer, June and July, to get ready for training camp. But you get somebody hurt, oh boy, that's a tough one. I feel like the opportunity to get quarterbacks with receivers, to get that synergy started. I mean, everybody just knew that was out there during the offseason, so kind of get them on the same page. New coaches, new ways of saying things, understanding the verbiage. But I love the way that both offense and defense rep things out. There were things that they would rep over and over and over and over again. You watch the defense and see them doing certain drills. Even in an 11-on-11 setting, they would be doing the same things over and over and over again, making sure that it's committed to memory. So I thought there were some really good things to come out of this period.
We got more to discuss about OTAs, much more after we check this out from Phillip Lindsay. The new running back went one-on-one with this guy as well as Mark Vandermeer. So really it was a one-on-two, and it was all part of Texans Radio. And here's a little snippet of that conversation.
Phillip Lindsay joining us on Texans Radio right now. Phillips, how do you feel the OTA part of this season went? Your introduction to Houston, everything from in the building to the practice field.
Yeah, everything went smooth. I think that, this is my first time ever having to leave state. Honestly, I played high school in Colorado. I went to the University of Colorado. I played with Denver. So for me, I was comfortable. So coming here was out of my comfort zone. I have a 1-year-old son and a fiance, and so it was new for us. So we was already shell shocked at the beginning. So I was already on edge and really protective over that because I never had to leave. We got to the building and you get around your teammates, and even though you don't know them now, but you've played against a lot of them because we're all new pretty much. And it's just good to get in there and we all feel the same. We're all trying to do the same things. And, and that's one goal is to win. Come in here and do our part. There's a reason why they brought us in here, not to just twiddle our fingers and pick our noses, but to come up with ways to be explosive and win. So seeing my teammates and seeing their motivation and what they want to prove, it made me feel a lot more comfortable because the kind of guy I am is I like to compete and I'm fiery and I want to win.
How would you describe the way you run and what's important to you as a running back?
Yeah, so my father taught us at a young age. One thing he always told us is if you want to be a running back, you got to be able to run inside. So when we started, I was a fullback in Little League. And we did the wing T. So, you was always in stuff. So you were always having to maneuver around people and stuff. Well, that's honestly, that's training your body. It's training your eyes to find little holes and things like that. And as I got older, I got faster, I got stronger, and I had the same mentality. I'm going to run inside because I don't need a bunch of space to make someone miss. I'm quick enough to make boom, boom, and get back upfield. I know I got to get point A to point B, and I know the fastest way is downhill, but I also know how to set people up. And as I got going, I learned how to be more patient with myself, patient with the pullers, and My type of running, I don't know. You know, I'm a different type of runner. You know, it's hard to get me because I'm a sleek runner. I'm not that bulky. So, you know, I think that helps me. And I'm, you know, littler, so it's hard to see me anyway. And I'm fast, but I'm also real strong.
Played your entire life in Colorado. Which one is worse, running in all that altitude or in this humidity?
No, it's honestly the humidity. Like I will say, like altitude, I've been, like you said, it's nothing new to me. I didn't even think about the altitude because I lived here my whole life.
Yeah.
But the humidity, I've never been somewhere where, and it's not even hot yet. And I've never been somewhere where you just walk outside and you sweat. And it's so hot that you could like pick up like you can just pick the air up and eat it. That's what it feels like. Like it's just, and so for me, it's like, okay, this is different, you know, and you got to be able to hydrate and stuff. See, Colorado is dry. Now, it'll get hot in Colorado. It'll get hot, but it's dry. All you have to worry about is your breathing and stuff like that. You get that down. Here, you got to worry about the heat, you know. You still got to get conditioning. It doesn't matter if you're in Colorado or Houston. Condition is condition. So it's different. It really is different, you know. But I can see the pros and cons of both sides.
Philip, thanks so much for the time. We look forward to seeing you around the building and at training camp. Thanks.
All right, man. I'm excited, man. You guys, thank you for your opportunity.
Going to talk a little bit more about Lindsey and the running backs group later in the show. But, John, this is, as you mentioned before and as we've talked about for the last 5-6 months, a team under new leadership. You got GM Nick Caserio. You've got the new head coach in David Culley. Both those guys are hands-on in their own separate ways, but let's start with the GM. You saw him out there slinging the rock a time or two. He could throw it. We saw that over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years when we go around to different pro days, but he's keeping the old arm loose, isn't he?
Well, to me, it's an old Frank Beamer philosophy. Frank Beamer was head coach at Virginia Tech. He was also the special teams coach. And I remember him saying at a clinic, how are you going to get the special teams to play at a higher level? Make the head coach the coach of that unit. Well, when GM Nick Caserio is throwing you footballs as a wide receiver, mind your P's and Q's just a little bit more than you would, and not taking anything away from Robert Prince because he's one heck of a coach and love getting a chance to meet him, the new receivers coach. When it's the GM of the team throwing you balls, he's got his eye on you whether you know it or not. So carrying that philosophy, he's just got his hand in a lot of different things, which is fine by me because he can do all those different things. Yeah. I'm totally fine with all that he brings to practice. And obviously his eye is very important to keep these guys where they want to be and what he needs the 53-man roster to be in September.
Disclaimer, caveat time. I know it's early. I know pads aren't on. I know it's May and June. But what guy on offense, skill position-wise, stood out to you?
I love watching Niko Collins.
Yeah.
I know he's a rookie, and I'm not putting anybody in Canton. But when a guy's 6'4", 215, you think, well, that's a big guy. It's kind of like a semi-truck in some sense. When you see a semi-truck, you know, they don't make the most accurate turns. You know, things are kind of rounded off. You watch Niko run all of his routes. They're straight lined, linear. The cuts for a guy that size, I was really impressed with that. And then he reaches out and snatches the football. I was impressed with a lot of the receivers. One of the guys, and I'm telling you, I totally get now why Chris Moore, I know it's a name you don't hear a lot of, but I totally understand why Chris Moore stayed with the Ravens all those years. And I love the fact that he's here. He's a name I think that people need to keep an eye out because he is a wonderful special teams player. On top of the fact, I think he's a pretty decent receiver too.
Yeah, and I don't think it's any coincidence that he comes here right along on the heels of Culley. Yep. And hey, when we were out of practice, we heard Culley saying some stuff to Moore, encouraging him along. All right, we got much more Texans 360 when we return. This guy and I, we're going back in the vaults and looking at a fun time in Texans history. Pick six time, baby. From the Ford Studios, this is Texans 360. We roll on. Drew Dougherty, John Harris, and you know, for my money, the greatest free agent signing in Texans history, cornerback Johnathan Joseph.
Agreed.
In 2011, he was a cannonball of a splash when the Texans signed him. And one of his greatest moments of many was the 2018 pick six against the Buffalo Bills right here.
I hope this happens in 2021 up in Buffalo.
That'd be fun.
But I know we're going to have a cameo from this guy at the end of the video you'll love.
The Texans were 2-3 at the start of the 2018 season. They had just won their previous 2 games in overtime. They're tied very, very late in this one against the Buffalo Bills. Looked like they might be going to a 3rd overtime, but Johnathan Joseph rode to the rescue in the form of a pick six.
Boy, did he ever. And he called his shot. In the huddle 2 plays prior, Nathan Peterman, who had come in the game for the Bills, had thrown an out route to that sideline. And you could tell they're on the opposite hash. And Peterman is not really known for a big arm. So J-Joe had said to his buddies in the secondary, hey, if he throws that again, I'm going to get it. And that's kind of what this coverage allows. You're gonna look at it and see there's a lot of moving parts, but it essentially turns into a cover 2. But Tyron comes running over here to take place of Kareem. Zach steps out here to play basically the rolled up corner, and you'll see the corner come here and play a safety. So when the ball is actually thrown, it actually looks like, as we look at our Microsoft Surface, just like a cover 2. You've got 5 guys underneath, 2 guys over the top, and you've got your guys rushing. So it essentially turns into what Romeo Crennel called, and that was a cover 2. And Johnathan Joseph you could just see him sitting and waiting. And I know what he's thinking. He's thinking, throw it. You're not gonna throw it. You can't throw this. And when he let that ball go, he knew immediately. He knew immediately. He's even breaking before that ball is thrown, and then goes and gets it and then takes it to the house. And this place went nuts. I'm not sure totally that Buffalo had any reason to lose this game. They probably should have won this game, but made enough plays, and then this one to seal it right here. And this, on Battle Red Day, set this place off. It was incredible.
Texans got to 500 with this win, and they would go on to win 6 more games. And look, you can kind of see up in the end zone.
Hey,
another guy right here spazzing out. That's me. I was in that little spot. That was a lot of fun. That was a fun season. It gets sort of forgotten because of the way it ended in the playoffs, but that was a fun year, man.
That was a great year and a great way to end that ball game, man. That defense was unbelievable early in the year, and J-Joe coming up big.
After the break, the Texans say they want to run the ball better in 2021. We'll explain how that can happen. Texans 360 rolls on.
Understand what the goal is. Understand what we're going to do and what we're going to continue to do. Understand that. Keep that with you. That being said, Tyrod, I need the best breakdown that we've had this off season. You understand? The best. So you make sure you got it right. The best we've had. Get on in here.
Together on 3. 1, 2, 3.
I'll take it.
So happy that you're back with us. This is Texans 360. Drew and John, and OTAs finished. And all throughout OTAs and really before that, we heard 2 main things that the Texans wanted to accomplish. On defense, got to get more takeaways than just the 9 they had last year. That was an NFL worst. And then on offense, they got to run the ball better. They want to run the ball better. They plan to run the ball better. There's basically a 2-pronged approach to it. There are other little prongs, but the 2 main things, got to get some push on the offensive line and need to run the ball better at running back. What'd you see in OTAs to help that case?
Well, I think the biggest thing when it comes to running the football, obviously you'll find that out when you put pads on, but I think there are some things that you can work on. You can start working on communication. And a lot of people, obviously none of us are down there, but having been down there, having been there for different groups and listening to it myself, there's so much communication that goes on during a particular play. When is a tackle going to go off to the second level? What kind of change are they making on this block down at the line of scrimmage? What are they doing? The communication of the front 5 guys has to be on point at all times. That's something they got done during this offseason. that communication, and they're learning it from James Camp, and we think one of the better offensive line coaches in this league. They get it from the quarterbacks. Tyrod Taylor is a guy that's been around. He's seen a lot of different things, so he's part of that communication as well. So communication's a massive part of this. And then you get to the running backs, and to me, it's vision. Where do you run to space? How do you run to space? There's space there. Can you find it without completely slowing down? Oh, I see it now, and then you've got to be able to see it on the run. And I think these backs have an opportunity to be able to do that. I love watching Philip Lindsay in his days in Denver. Man, he could find a hole that I'd go back and watch it play again and think, I don't know how he saw this hole. We saw David Johnson do that at the end of last year when he really got ingrained in the zone game. So you combine communication up front with the vision to find that space. I think those are two key things, and those are two things obviously they worked on in the offseason. They'll continue to work on, and you work on that whether you've got pads on or not.
You and I talked about this at length on our podcast, which you can check out on the app on HoustonTexans.com. It's called In the Lab. But this week we spoke about competition on the offensive line, and really you've got a wide open competition. Essentially everything to the right of left tackle Laramie Tunsil, wide open, man.
Yeah, and I think that goes for pretty much every position on this particular football team. We used to say there was one player, at least two players that we knew were going to start, but this year I don't think that really is part of the equation. I think it's 5 guys up front. We'll figure out which 5 those are going to be once we get to training camp and use that C word, competition. That's been the buzzword around here, which totally fine by me. If you take 10 guys and you say, all right, guys, we're going to take the best 5 and fit them in, as opposed to, well, you're this and you're that, so, well, you can't compete with that guy. No. If you're the best offensive lineman, we're going to find the spot for you to be on that particular field. And James Campen, I think, is the right guy to then negotiate and work those guys through a season. If they're not comfortable, like, okay, I played right guard, now I'm playing left tackle, Campen's the kind of guy that can help you make that transition, and hopefully that's what he does with this team.
Yes, he can. He just gave you basically a 2.5-minute clinic on what you might see from the Texans this fall. When we return from the break, we've got a clinic from a Texans special teams coach. Don't you miss it.
We're at Jack Yates High School. We've come together with a group, Harris County Sports and Convention, HELIS, LISC, and our NFL partners in donating a football field to Yates High School.
I think what it means to the community is a safe place to come and play that is a quality field. You know, it's going to change this school. It's going to change how they're able to play, how they're able to practice, how they're able to come together as a community.
This is about the students, the student athletes, and it's about continuing to give them the opportunities they so richly deserve.
When we played, we called the practice field, or this field, we called it the yard. It was all dirt, sand, and gravel from the 15-yard line to the opposite 15-yard line. So, you know, we're going to fast forward that to almost 30 years later, the fact that you'll have a turf sports field for all of our sports outdoor programs. So kids that really can envision and want to be part of sports, it'll have the facilities up to par and second to nobody in the nation.
You know, we're so excited that the Houston Texans and all of the partners came together to bring this turf to Jack Yates High School. And as an active community member who's always involved with Yates, it means so much not only to preserving the legacy and the historic nature of Jack Yates High School, but providing opportunities for the students here at Jack Yates as well as the community at large.
For the McNairs to come in and give it to little old Jack Yates right here in the inner city of 3rd Ward, it means so much because we're probably the winningest high school football program in the 80s, 90s, and 70s, and for this just to come to us now is a blessing, but at the same time we still have so far to go, but it's just great that they put us on the list. It was some guys that were fighting to try to get this into fruition 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, but it was unable to materialize, and now that it has come about, it's truly a blessing, and we're very grateful and thankful for the opportunity. Go Texans!
Welcome back to Texans 360. Pretty cool there seeing the field donation there at Yates High School.
Yeah.
And as an aside, ever seen a better high school team than the 1985 Yates Lions?
Oh, boy, there are a few of them that come to mind.
You and I are kind of old enough to remember them.
That's a pretty good one. I'll tell you the best one I've ever seen up close was 2015 Katy Tigers.
Yeah,
that team was unbelievable. It was one of the best defenses I've ever seen. They had 9 shutouts in 16 games.
You know who would love to see some Texas high school football is Frank Ross. He's the new special teams coordinator. Comes to the Texans via the Colts. Spent some time in Ohio, but he knows good football, and he put on a coaching clinic recently.
It's funny, the first thing out front is something that I learned from a high school football coach. And it's, Frank, you have to coach every play.
We're at the Coaches Academy at the NRG Center. We get the chance to bring high school coaches, middle school coaches, and youth coaches this year. It's an opportunity to network, opportunity to learn more about the game of football, learn about safety of football. There's so much that goes into it. It's pretty cool.
We're all teachers first.
Within the coaching community in Houston, you've got the youth coaching, middle school and high school coaching. It's really one really big network. There's just a special energy in the room that we've never honestly had in any program we've done in all these years.
100+ high school coaches and youth coaches in there trying to get better, trying to work on their craft, work on their knowledge of the game. Whenever somebody like that's getting together, that is the type of football environment that we need as a sport.
The future of high school football in Texas is so vital, right? It really is a pipeline of what makes us unique. It makes us different from any other state in the country. And really, it is the continuity and consistency of development and really that channel of resource and contact building from youth football to middle school to high school. That's what gives us a special sauce here in Texas. We do a lot of work and we're committed to providing education and resources for youth coaches, youth athletes, and parents.
It's needed. A lot of kids need help, need money. You know, a lot of them need that who wanted to go to school didn't get scholarships. And so when they brought this up, I said, I'll be glad to be involved with it. Being there to help these kids, I think it's a great thing to do.
High school football is the fundamental and foundational building block of our NFL game, and that's where it all starts. Of course, I think everybody that's at our level needs to continue to do that and give back.
All out of time for this week's Texans 360. Big thanks again to you, John Harris, for coming on. Can't wait to see you again. Yep, we will do it again very, very soon. Also, thanks to Mitchell Moreland and Tyler Marcotte for making this whole thing possible behind the scenes. For them, I'm Drew. We can't wait to see you next time. And remember, tickets are available. HoustonTexans.com/tickets. Experience game day together. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to know when we post new content.